Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this webinar with SATSA and South African Tourism. With me today, I have a friend of SATSA and a former SATSA chair in Mpumalanga, who now also happens to be the head of global trade at South African Tourism. You all know him, Bradley Brouwer. He's going to give us some insights on what SA Tourism is doing internationally and how we can work with the organization for mutual benefit. You'll have an opportunity to ask questions throughout the webinar. All you need to do is to click on the Q&A folder at the bottom of your screen. Post your question there, it'll come through to me, and I will then pose those questions to Bradley once he's done with his presentation. So just again, the Q&A folder at the bottom of your screen. If you have any questions as Bradley is talking or after the presentation, type those in and it'll come straight through to me and I'll pose those questions. So without any further ado, I'm going to hand over to Bradley now, and he's going to chat to you about what SA Tourism is doing internationally. Over to you, Bradley.
Thank you, Natalia, and good morning to everybody. It's really, really nice to be able to do this. Thank you very, very much. To give you an overview of global trade, in South African tourism, we handle a number of things. The key part is our trade communication with our trade locally and internationally. I'm in constant contact with the global trade around the world every single day. Number two is that we handle the SA Specialist Training Program, which is on southafrica.net. And I want to encourage all of you to do that course. There are two. The one is very easy, take you half an hour to do. And the second one, you have a period of a month to do it. You're able to log in with your own created login, and you're able to do the second course, which makes you an SA specialist. Trade partners globally as well. On top of that, we've got the that we share with the global trade if they need maps of the country. There's also a real-time map that has been developed to ensure that the trade can look at all the graded properties within South Africa. It's listed there, and they'll be able to see all the graded properties in real time. We also have an air access committee, which we sit on. There are 5 of them. The one is Cape Town Air Access Committee, Durban Air Access Committee, there's Gauteng Air Access, Port Elizabeth Air Access, and Kruger and Mpumalanga International Airport Air Access. So we sit on those on an advisory level as well as a learning curve for us to be able to assist with stumbling blocks that may be experienced. We also have ocean access just started. There's a national strategy and a Cape Town strategy that has just been finalized, and we're waiting for others as well. And then, of course, we attend global trade shows like WTM, which was a great success this year, and also the trade engagements around the country. We've got 3 MOUs that we have signed in South Africa, one with AXA, one with SATSA, and one with South African National Parks. And then there are various other departments that we liaise with within SA Tourism, like visitor experience, global hosting, grading, brand and marketing, hub offices around the world, domestic tourism, and stats, insights, and analytics. So that's in a nutshell from me. I'm not going to stop talking and hear if you have any questions for us.
Thank you so much, Bradley. So just to reiterate, if you have a question, you can type them in on the Q&A folder at the bottom of your screen, and I will pose those questions through to Bradley. Bradley, just before we hopped on, we were talking a little bit about the unabridged birth certificates and the sandparks dual pricing that was discussed at WTM Africa. At WTM. Would you like to unpack that a little bit for us?
Certainly. The one challenge we had was the unabridged birth certificates. And remember, we only left on Thursday from WTM, and the communication came out on Monday, or the official communication. But we did speak to the trade about it. It has been widely accepted as a great win for us. I do believe the trade seemed quite happy about it, but wanted a formal communication, which they now have. So I think that will be very, very good for us. There was one thing that came up continually, was the dual pricing that is visible on the Sandparks website. And we did explain to the trade, that a lot of countries are doing this, but the thing that we're very worried about is that it's more than 300%, up to 351% in some cases, for foreigners to come to the country. And we will take that up with Sandbox. We'll talk to them and see if there's something that we can do there. But part of our job is to try and bring forth the trade concerns, as well as get information from the trade that we can share globally.
Okay, we have a question from Dorian. He said, as proudly South African shuttle and chauffeur aggregator, can Bradley connect us with global travel platforms where we can integrate our API and so make our inventory, being local shuttle, chauffeur, and day tour SMEs, available internationally?
Dorian, yes, thank you for the question. I think that there are possibilities. We've got to keep within what do they call it, the privacy laws. But if you contact me, I will certainly make sure that we can put you in contact and see how we can make this further for you. Definitely, the more we have, the better. So I'm willing to work with you. Please let me know.
Bradley, what would SATSA members, for example, need to do to work more closely with SA Tourism? What do you need from us?
Okay, great. So I wanted to just say that most of our shows around the world, we insist that there are SATSA members that attend, purely because of the assurances, number one. Number two, because of the quality. And we would love to work with SATSA members. For me specifically, I would like some information. Whether we have a separate department called the hosting department, but I would love you to share stuff with me, whether there's upgrades of a property, whether there's new rates coming out, anything that you have that you want to share with the trade globally, please share it with us and I will share that. And I will also include our hosting department. South African Tourism do hostings, so I would recommend that you contact our hosting department within SA Tourism. And we do hostings of media and trade from around the world. And that is very important for us to get your property known and to get your product known. So we do that on a basis of the areas, the provincial spread. We try and make sure that we have at least 3 provinces that we cover on a hosting, so that we encourage provincial spread. So it is important that we have that kind of communication. The other thing is that I would love your database of your people that you want us to communicate with. So if you have, obviously in keeping with the rules and regulations, but if we communicate regularly, like the unabridged birth certificate, we need to have, we send out an email to say, this news has occurred. If you have any inquiries, this is where you can contact. So it is important for us to have that information. And if you can assist us with that, we can get you out there more globally. Even if you're not exhibiting at shows, we can put your information out there.
I believe Hanley has a question for you as well.
Sorry.
Yes.
Hi, everyone. Hanley from SATSA here. Bradley, obviously, we're very, very thankful to have you on here. I thought maybe to go into a little bit more detail, let's say sort of taking a day in your life. What is it that you do when you say you work with global trade? What does that involve? What is that relationship about?
Okay, so the first thing I do is look at all the news that comes in. One of them, the information from SATSA, and we would share that globally with the TRMs of SA Tourism, as well as their partners. From there, I would go through, obviously, all the emails and questions that we receive regarding trade. And a lot of the questions have been about product and new things. So we need that from your trade partners, from the SATSA trade partners. Give us new things that are happening, festivals, itineraries in your area or a program, a calendar of events. Share those with us, because we will share those with the trade globally. The other thing that happens is I will answer all the questions that I have and the email queries that we receive. Basically, air access, I will receive why there are no flights to this area, and I would investigate with the various steering committees and give them an answer. I would be able to give an update on the latest flights that are coming into the country and when they will be starting, and increases of slots are very important. We've just come back from World Routes in Australia, and quite a number of slots have been increased to South Africa. So it's looking good and positive going forward for us. At the moment, I know it's been challenging, but it's looking good. The increased flights are looking good. There are challenges that we have, like I can use, one of the challenges I have is one of the airlines wanting to fly to South Africa, but they are not registered in the country they want to fly from. So we need to talk to Department of Transport. As you know, these things take time, but we're making headway. There's also a number of other things that we deal with. For instance, if there's challenges within the area, we utilize the SATSA info as well, and others to say that, there's unrest in this area, please divert your route or whatever. So that information we send it within South Africa. But we don't share it internationally because it is important that the partners will decide here, the DMCs, what they want to share with their partners in that aspect to keep the news positive and to keep the news relevant. So that's some of the stuff that we do. We'll attend trade seminars and trade activations and so on. We have an MOU with SATSA. We've attended a few sessions with them. The animal interaction I attended the Gauteng chapter, attended another meeting as well. Hanley from our Asia department has attended a number, almost all of them, chapters to try and show people what we're doing in SA tourism. But I think working closer with us is really, really important. And we are friends of SATSA. That's why we partner with SATSA every year. And we want to make sure that we address some of your challenges that you might have, and that you are giving us information that we can utilize and share to give you more footprint out there. I hope that covered it, Hanley.
Thank you, Bradley. So on that note about working more closely together, are there specific contact details that you can share with us that a SATSA member can send you information about the product updates that they've got or to apply for the hosting?
Certainly, I can do that. So I always get myself into trouble because I give my personal email address or my work email address because I believe in communication. So I'm going to give you my email address. It's Bradley, BRADLEY, at southafrica.net. So it's Bradley at southafrica.net. For our hosting department, there's Arlene at southafrica.net. You can contact her for hosting. With regards to any other queries can come to me and I'll share them within the organization. Those are the two main ones I think that will affect the trade that we deal with. So please share things with me, and if I can find out the answers for you, I'll get them to you. If not, I'll be able to forward it to somebody that can assist you. But again, a lot of people have said to me, we've been phoning SA Tourism and the phone rings. It's busy. It's really, really busy. And please feel free to contact me directly if you have anything that you'd like to bring up.
Thank you.
Natalia, can I jump in here?
Sure.
Thank you very much. I mean, guys, really, I know the amount of emails that I get that I forward to Bradley, and he is so much better than I am at answering emails. So please feel free to do that. Even if you want to send it to SATSA, I mean, we can, if it's not necessarily related to Bradley, we send it somewhere else. But Bradley, I just wanted to sort of set expectations when you talk about Arlene and hosting.
Right.
I mean, what we are looking for here, I mean, our products obviously, and I'm taking assumptions, guys, so excuse me if I'm wrong, but obviously you guys would like to be part of hosting. So Bradley, if you can maybe just talk a little bit more about what that process would entail and what the kind of requests are that they should send to Arlene.
Right. So what happens is we would obviously have international countries sending to our hub head offices to say we would like to take, for instance, Etihad Air to South Africa. They will bring a few people from 3 or 4 countries and would want them hosted here. We would look at it, and if it's more global, we would definitely look at full hosting. We would handle the ground handling and meals, and the airline would handle the flights, for instance. And sometimes there's a tripartite agreement that we would have 3 partners involved, and so on. And that would be looked at on a case-to-case basis. But we do want to do hostings. We want to make sure people are aware of the country and what it has to offer. Specifically, provincial spread is critically important for us to make sure that all the provinces benefit. So we do a minimum of 3 provinces in a hosting. That's a prerequisite. The other thing that happens is that we get requests from here in country. but we would like to be assured that it's going to add value. So we get a lot of requests, and some of them is purely to promote that product or that hotel, or, you know, we would like it to be more open, covers more of the country as well as the destination itself. So that's really where it's at. But if they send an email, they can put a proposal forward or request, and they would look at it as a case-to-case basis. But we hosted over 1,800 hostings, I believe, in last year, which was a lot. You know, some of them small, some of them big, some of them media, some of them trade, some of them trade and media combined, from our offices around the world, as well as our hosting within South Africa. So it is important that we get the information, that we can share it with the hosting department so that they understand there's a new product or there's a new experience, or that these things can be included into the hostings. And even if there's you know, old, long existing product that are being used, we would utilize it, you know, and we try to give everybody a fair and opportunity to be able to be hosted. So the key thing here is to submit the hosting requests so that they can be looked at.
Peter would like to know what your main takeaways were from the WTM visit, especially regarding concerns and expectations from our trade partners internationally.
Okay. Peter, hi. It was really, really good. WTM this year was fantastic. We had just won the Rugby World Cup, as you know, and we all wore Springbok jerseys throughout the process. It was very, very good. A lot of people joked and said, take off that shirt, you know, and then sat down and did business. But it was really, really good. And I think it gave us a good boost. That was the one good thing. The second thing was we knew that the unabridged birth certificate announcement was imminent. And we rode on that for sure. The other thing that was very good was there seemed to be a new energy for South Africa. And remember that World Travel Market is not only a UK show, but a global show. And I personally met with a number of trade from around the world. And it was upbeat. It was really, really upbeat. The downward numbers from the UK can be attributed to Brexit, can be attributed to a sluggish economy, but certainly it's going to be looking up. We do have a request to the Department of Transport from Norwegian Air wanting to fly from the UK to South Africa. That may very well more than fill the gap of the Thomas Cook demise that we saw. So that is looking very, very positive. We're having a few meetings with the department as well. So it's looking quite proactive. Concerns, the general concerns were safety and security. The two biggest ones were the unabridged birth certificate, which we also addressed. And then, of course, the dual pricing, which is facing some of the trade, or all of the trade, with regards to conservation fees. But we will be talking to our partners, and we will see how we can address this or come to some sort of agreement. But it was very upbeat. I have to say, World Travel Market was busy. It was upbeat. Everybody on the stand was very, very busy. So that's what I can give you on that.
Thanks, Bradley. So can we hop to your airline hat, or your air access hat?
Nice.
And we have a question from Brad, who says he always appreciates the support from SA Tourism with us. So thank you for that. And his question is very specific. Do you have any updates on the Air Canada flight, which you have been working on securing?
Okay. Thank you, Brad. Yeah, Air Canada has stalled a bit, and it's not from our side, but we are looking at it. We have a meeting on Thursday this week, and that's tomorrow, and I'll be finding out more about it. The last that I had was that it was looking at the right capacity or the right equipment to fly to South Africa. So either 787-9 or something that can do the distance. So that is what was the last thing that I heard of, but they are very keen to be flying. And I can share that with you, Brad, as soon as I get the information.
So just a reminder, if you joined us slightly late, to ask a question, all you need to do is click on the Q&A folder at the bottom of your screen, type your question, and that will come through to me, which is what Mandisa has done. Bradley, I hear you mentioned that there are flight strategies in the pipeline for Port Elizabeth. Are there any specific updates that you can share? Are there any particular strategies that apply to the Eastern Cape?
Okay, thank you very much. The one thing, the Port Elizabeth Air Access Committee has only just started, and it's looking very, very good. It is also, they've requested that Cape Town Air Access support them and help to drive the initial start of the Air Access Committee in Port Elizabeth. So that will be happening soon. I'm waiting for an invitation for the first meeting, which we will have. But yes, the strategy is to make sure that in Port Elizabeth, because of the length of the runway, the depth of the tarmac, it is important that we do distribution from the three major international airports, or the four, to make sure that we get access to Port Elizabeth, to other areas, regional areas that can do domestic and regional flights. So the whole idea there is to get in, unless a new runway is built and capacitated with international access, then we would make sure that there's distribution from Cape Town, Durban, Johannesburg into Port Elizabeth. And we will try and increase flights to those, to the province, as well as for distribution from the province to other areas domestically and hopefully regionally. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. How does the trade get involved in these air access strategies?
Okay, so there's a few things. I'll use Cape Town Air Access as an example. That's been the longest one going so far and been very, very successful. Is that the SA Tourism is there, West Grey is there, Cape Town Tourism, the department, the DDG from the Department of Economics is there. And then, of course, there's other investors that come in. So, for instance, we as SA Tourism would invest using our marketing arms across the world, utilizing our hubs for strategies. So if you look at the United Air flight from Newark Airport to Cape Town, that'll start on the 15th and arrive in Cape Town on the 16th of December. We're doing marketing with our office in the UK, in the US. We're also making sure that we support the airline with information on South Africa. The various committees talk about cargo that has high yield and low weight, because it's an ultra long haul destination route. So that would need to be looked at, and we look at those things. So that is really how we go about it. But the example is that there are also other investors like Investec. There's other parties. So they come on board and they invest, and it can cost quite a few million to get a route going. It's not cheap at all, especially a long haul or ultra long haul route. It costs a lot of money. But the reality is that as individuals we burn, But the reality is that once you get a flight going, we need to sustain it and make sure that we can get extension of routes, or that we can get an extension of slots, that we try and sustain that. The other difficult part is two-way traffic. It is vitally important to have two-way traffic. And maybe I'll take a minute just to explain this, because a lot of people ask me and they say, but if a plane comes full from China and goes back full, after the 8-day tour or whatever, the flight is then 100% full. That is very true. But the aircraft needs to, the airline needs to sell tickets, for instance, in South Africa and China, so that when they refuel in South Africa, they use South African rands to refuel. If they're refueling with Chinese yuan, for instance, there's the currency conversion that has to happen. And that's a huge cost on 2.5 million fuel tank to China from Johannesburg. So those are things that need to be considered. So two-way traffic is vitally important. And that's where we as Global Trade work with our OTAs like Travel Start, Travel Check, a number of them, to promote the outbound as well. Although it's not our job as SA Tourism, but we encourage them to promote it so that we sustain the flight for incoming business into South Africa. I hope that covered a bit.
Thank you, Bradley. Any insights on, we spoke about air access, but what about ocean access?
Okay, ocean access is still relatively new for all of us. We have got a national strategy that the department issued a few years back, and there is just issued their new ocean access strategy. So that is pretty good. It seems like we're getting around the table. I'm sure Port Elizabeth will do theirs soon. I believe that Durban will do theirs. So once we've got that going, we'll be able to have a look. There are also challenges with cruise companies where if they stop at more than 3 ports, they're regarded as domestic tourism, which is a challenge for us. And that needs to be addressed with the various departments to make sure that we increase the President's request of doubling our tourist numbers by 2030. So there are challenges that need to be sorted out. But again, these are consultations between departments and SA Tourism so that we can make sure that we maximize the ocean access to South Africa as far as cruise lines are concerned.
Thank you, Bradley. So we still got a couple of minutes to go. Ursula, you say you can't hear anything. You've pressed okay, right? No problem there. If you do, as an audience, have any preferences in terms of webinars that you would like South African tourism to do with SATSA in the future, please do include that either in the Q&A folder at the bottom or on the chat so that we know what to set up as webinars going forward. Bradley, if I may just ask a question around the MOUs, can you unpack those a little bit for us?
So basically, the MOUs were just really for when I came back from the countries. I was in China, Japan, and Korea for 11 years, and when I came back to head office, was just to try and have a basic MOU of a memorandum of understanding that we try and collaborate and work closer, and slowly in depth it later on. So it's basically things that we'd work together. For instance, with AXA, Chinese New Year, making sure that we can do branding at the various international airports, that we would attend their seminars and things. They would be invited to ours. We'd collaborate on things like, the departure surveys, that we have staff there to be able to do the surveys. Things like making sure that we have a communication going as a start so that we work together slowly and build it up stronger and stronger. So that's basically what the MOUs are like. The one with SATSA was quite in depth and very, very good. We do an MOU with SATSA every year, and it's been very, very beneficial. We work together on, for example, the SATSA conference, speaking opportunities, the various chapters and different meetings, collaborating together on supporting the trade as best we can, having various speakers like this opportunity now. Make sure that there's more and more SA tourism departments speaking on webinars so that you will get a fuller understanding of SA tourism and how we can collaborate. So that's really the gist of the MOUs at this point. We're hoping to increase them to make them more tangible. And the whole idea was to get the communication going. I think that was a vital part for us.
We're privileged to have you, Bradley, on this webinar because of your first-hand experience in the Asian market. And I wondered if you wouldn't perhaps unpack a little bit what you feel we as industry could do to leverage that knowledge and to start working a little bit more closely with Asian travel trade partners.
Certainly. So I want to tell you, after the 11 years of being there, I've been out of the market now for a year or just over a year. But the reality is that they're very different markets. And my colleague, Hanali, the regional general manager, Hanali Slabber, and Mansoor Mohammed, who's taken over the hub from me when I left, are working very, very hard. They've just signed an agreement with Tencent, which is the owners of WeChat, which is very important for us over a 3-year period. And that'll be a great strategy going forward. I believe that that is very important. The other thing is just being China ready, which you can get from Hanali. She can share information with you on China ready. But what is important is that we support and understand the markets. They're very, very different. And, simple training with regards to how people at a desk, a reception desk in a hotel, welcome them. You see an Asian person and you assume they're Chinese, but they could be Japanese or Korean. And that for me is vitally important because there are sensitivities. And I think that the markets are going to grow. There's no doubt about it. We are looking at the extension of direct flights from China to South Africa. That is in the early phases, but it's looking very, very promising. So they're going to grow. And I think the more ready we are for the Asian markets, the better. And I think that is very important. I can give you so much more, but I don't want to tread on my colleagues' toes, but certainly they'll be able to help you. So Hanli Slabber is the regional general manager for the entire Asia region and the Middle East. And then you've got Mansoor Mohammed, who took over from me. His email address is mansoor@southafrica.net as well.
So Mandisa's made a suggestion for another webinar around the content that SA Tourism produces. So what likelihood would there be for us to put together a webinar with someone in your marketing department, for example, to give us some idea on how to use the content that they produce more efficiently?
Mandisa, that is a great question. I think that is highly overdue. I think we can do that, and we can be in contact with SATSA and arrange the various departments, to meet with and actually speak about, content, to speak about the needs that we need to get out there. So it will be good if we can collaborate in that way. But certainly I can see this going forward as very, very valuable to all of our trade partners, especially the SATSA partners, where you understand and know what we are doing and what we may require from you and what you require from us. So I think that'll be very good.
Great. I think we're all done in terms of questions that have come through. I have recorded this webinar, so we will be releasing the recording through to all SATSA members, including those of you who've registered and are attending this webinar, just in case you need it. Bradley, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you hopping on and using our technology to get the message out. And we look forward to hosting more webinars with you and the South African tourism team going forward. Thank you to all of you who logged on today to listen, and we will be in touch with further webinars shortly. Thanks so much. Have a good day, guys. Bye.
Goodbye.